Holy shit. Looks like we've got another sandboxing video. How many is that now? A lot, I think. But this video today is so bloody important because I feel like not many people actually talk about what it means to run a sandbox adventure. Instead, everyone seems to talk about running a sandbox campaign. And I mean, what does sandbox even really mean? Well, it means different things to different people, right? To me, it means freedom of choice, unlimited outcomes. That's pretty simple. I think the big thing that scares Dungeon Masters from wanting to run a sandbox campaign is the fear that they won't know what to do when the time comes, when their players want to do something that they don't expect. If you want to support the channel, make sure you guys like the video and hit that subscribe button. It would be amazing to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're already over halfway there. So thanks guys, I really do appreciate it. So, when it comes to sandboxing, improvising is very important, and it's a skill that takes a long time to develop and rely upon confidently. Not just in yourself as a person, but also the system that you're running, the module or the adventure, as well as the various tools that you have at your disposal. I'm talking rollable charts, homebrew systems, and other stuff. There is a good reason why I'm always sharing my tables and charts with you guys. It's because a sandbox DM is really only as good as the resources that they have at their disposal, and I don't want any viewer of mine being left in the dark. That's why I was so happy when you guys enjoyed my D30 Sandbox companion video. And if you guys haven't watched that yet, you should really check it out after watching this video. And yeah, and if you guys would like to see me do any more reviews on this channel, just let me know in the comment section below. I don't really know exactly what I should review. If you got any ideas, yeah, that'd be cool too. To change kind of what to change the topic slightly, if my players are traveling from one location to another and roll a brand new key feature, some sort of random encounter that's quite big on the map, I'll actually roll on a chart or a table to determine what it is on the fly, and then build it from there. If it's a ruined tower, perhaps it was an ancient guard post that was used long ago to fend off barbarians that used to live in the region. That's the power of rollable tables and charts. Maybe it needs its own video, but if you're quick and sly enough, you can roll on these tables, come up with an idea, and implement it without your players really even realizing what you've done. It really does pay to be sharp when it comes to DMing, to think on your feet very quickly. Let's jump into the meat of this video. I'm really excited about the meat today. I think it's a really fucking good medium rare steak, and it's all about sandbox adventures, right? And they need to be open and adaptable. A great example would be a mine that has been overrun by goblins. The local lord wants the goblins dead and is willing to pay a lot of gold, let's say 800 gold pieces, to any group of warriors with the strength and guile to eradicate them. The lord gives very little information on how the party will do it, and his men only have limited knowledge on the number of goblins as well as their defenses, etc. So what this means is that the party is going to have to do some digging and consider their options. If they want, they can put on their armour, sharpen their blades, and march into that mine if they want to, and face the goblins head on with little to no information. Whilst this, yes, may work, it's unlikely to. Sandbox adventures are known to be less balanced than your typical linear adventures with a start, a middle, and then an end. If we're jumping into OSR and less linear TTRPGs in general, this is especially the case, which I really like, by the way. Sandbox adventures typically rely on your players thinking creatively and coming up with interesting solutions to advance the story. The players may decide to hire a group of men to assist with clearing out the goblins, as well as even maybe sending a few of those men in as scouts beforehand to determine, well, to gain a bit more information on the extent of the infestation, etc. In my campaigns, goblins are pests, and they tend to cause human civilization, as well as other civilizations, no end of trouble once they have built a secure breeding ground with access to food and water. Goblins can become adults in my campaign within 5 years. So think about that. Within a decade, you've got 2 generations of goblins. And that's an issue. The scouts who are sent in may die, or they may return with information. Anything can happen in a sandbox game, and I think it's good to allow for that to be the case. I love running games by the seams of my pants. And I don't really like to over-prepare or really know exactly how a session is going to go. I think it's more fun like that. I know it's a pretty old school way of thinking, and I know there are some viewers out there who think I'm not very old school. I think one of you guys on Discord said it best. I'm a hybrid channel, a mixture of old and new. I started as a modern player, but the more I've kind of mingled with OSR, the more I've really liked it. So yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. It was a little bit of a tangent. In regards to these scouts, you could have the players make skill checks on behalf of the scouts using my skill challenge system, which should be a little box up there if you want to check out that video. Or you could just arbitrarily decide and keep things narrative if you really wanted to. But based on their decisions and potentially their roles, the party may be able to gain more information and easily deal with the goblins. Or they could get absolutely demolished. It really could go either way. The big point for what I'm trying to say is that you create the challenge, the party figures out a way to overcome it. We create the obstacle, they figure out how to deal with it. It's 101 adventure design. The only caveat is that you're not creating an adventure with a set plot and a pre-written story and narrative, but instead a series of random plot points with a lot of less structure that is more optional. These various plot points can still be really cool, with dialogue for roleplay, epic moments in combat, but it's just less like step by step and more kind of balls to the wall, grab what you can, see if it works. And with the Goblin Adventure, I'd draw the party in with a town crier ringing their bell, declaring that the Lord of Townville, or whatever the fuck you call your town, is looking for a group of warriors with experience in goblin slaying, who can eradicate a nest for the people of the town, as well as its lord, obviously. 800 gold is the reward. Very simple intro. The players would obviously have to travel to the town, speak to the underling of the lord, maybe a captain of the guard or something, and then have options of things that they can do in order to kind of build intel and develop their own method or way of dealing with things. They probably wouldn't know what these options are, but they could ask people questions, NPCs questions, like ask the captain some questions, for example. And what I'm trying to say is that the players need to be proactive in order to discover and develop the plot. That's really the big difference between Sandbox and linear adventures. In linear adventures, players are reactive to what's going on, whereas in Sandbox, players are more relied upon to be, proactive in order to push the story, because they are not actually riding that railroad, It's important to consider the kinds of players you have when creating adventures. If they're not very proactive, they may struggle a bit with a Sandbox adventure with various plot points all over the place. But to be honest, in the worst case scenario, you can always hint things or allow a high intelligence character of the group to roll an investigation check or something to see if they can find a lead or a plot thread. If your players aren't proactive, perhaps their characters are. It's basically reverse metagaming. And here on the screen now, guys, are the plot points I have considered. So feel free to pause the video and check them out. And as you can see, there are some pretty cool ideas here. We've got stuff about the tavern keeper, stuff that's going on in the tavern. We've got the blacksmith. It's not a lot of build-up. It's not a lot of plot points, but there are quite a few. And you guys can make your own. You can add your stuff in. It's really up to you. How many of these plot points the party discovers depends on the direction they go once they arrive in the town. Doing some detective work may seem a bit boring, but there's usually at least one player in every group who's interested in the idea of looking for clues. Everyone else can just piss about in the tavern, drink alcohol, and fight people. You know, like most of your players are probably going to want to do, right? Other than the plot points I've set up before, I'd also create a map for the mines, which I've already done. And I will decide how many goblins I want to use, how many of them are warriors, what equipment they use, where they are located within the mines. I'd also consider their leader, if they have one, and create the appropriate stat blocks for all of those enemies, depending on the system that I'm running. If I wanted to, I could create some set-piece encounters with unique specifications. And the idea is to make this mine, this dungeon, realistically fun and fair. I imagine a goblin mine could have dozens, maybe even hundreds of goblins depending on its size. But I'm not going to have 100 goblins fighting against the party at one time in one big encounter, unless the party is a very high level or they've made a massive blunder. I've created an adventure for my patrons this week using the plot points that I put on the screen earlier in this video. If you want access to that, what you got to do is sign up at my $3 tier and you'll be good to go. I've also posted a video on my Patreon outlining how to actually run this adventure. It's only it's not too long, and I've also done a write-up for it too. I just thought maybe like a video version of the write-up might be quite useful to you guys. I don't know. The plan is to try and post an adventure for you guys every week or fortnight, depending on my schedule, as well as anything else that I've been working on. I'm really trying to come up with ways to provide value for those of you who would like to support me in my channel. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction. I think we're pretty much done with this video today. I've outlined a lot of things. I really hope that it helps you guys with the structure of your adventures, because the structure is so, like, sandbox structure is so much different from like linear structure, and you've got to be a lot more like object oriented. If you guys know anything about coding, you've got to have varying directions that the story can go rather than just one direction, if that makes sense. I think that's really, really important. And I also want to say thank you to all of you guys who've watched the video all the way to the end. I know obviously I do get a bit of a drop off, but I really do appreciate the support. Make sure you guys have joined our public Discord. There we go. If you haven't already, to keep up with all things Loki and Lair. But apart from that, guys, I'll see you next time on Loki's Lair. Until then.